Birthdays, anniversaries, weddings, whatever the occasion, it just got a little more personal with meaningful photo gifts from Shutterfly. Add a silly photo to a gold-rimmed mug for your bestie. Put your sweet puppy on a cozy fleece blanket for your teen. Gift your husband a desktop plaque featuring all the kids. Enjoy 40% off orders over $29 with code POD40 at Shutterfly.com and make something that means something.
Kroger Delivery has one mission: to deliver the freshest food right to your door. That's why our drivers are pros. Our trucks are refrigerated. And when it comes to low prices, we always deliver. With $20 off your first order of $75 or more, there's no better time to get in on the action. Mission accomplished. Restrictions apply. See site for details.
Hello and welcome to the Coffin Lounge Podcast, back after a long hiatus, which I will basically explain in this entire video. I am your host, VampireKitten, and it is lovely, lovely talking to you all again. So, I wanted to start out the podcast by doing kind of an AMA, mostly because I realize it's been a long time. I took a little bit of a break because I was not only suffering from burnout, but it's hard to get into, but a lot of things were happening in my life at the same time. And then I lost my dad in March of 2024. I'm going to try very hard not to get emotional during this podcast, but it's going to be kind of difficult. So for the past year, almost year, I've just been kind of dealing with that, and it really hit me hard. That coupled with a lot of pressures to get things done and being overwhelmed with work and feeling burnt out because I think I put too much on my plate all at one time. Sort of the tipping point was when my dad passed. And it's kind of what made me stop and sort of take a step back from a lot of things. I during that time I was trying to come back to streaming. And as soon as that happened, I just kind of stopped making content. It's hard to kind of talk about because a lot had happened without going into details because of, privacy, whatever. We believe that my dad had a heart attack. And I think that was coupled with a lot of other things. And he was 60. The last time I had seen him was literally like December, January, February, March. I saw him 4 months before he passed. And it was hard because it was his 60th birthday. We all came out to celebrate, and then he was just gone. He was gone on St. Patrick's Day. I haven't publicly talked about this, really. I mean, I've kind of somewhat mentioned it on my stream when I come back. And when I've come back and streamed, and everybody was asking me where I've been, that's where I've been. I've been mourning. I've been just trying to sort myself out. And a lot of it has been me trying to figure out how I can juggle all the things. That coupled with, everything going on with my family And losing him, he was kind of the rock that kept us all together. So, I have taken about a year to sort of realign my goals and figure out what I wanted to do. Oh my god, I'm like, for those of you watching the YouTube, I'm sitting here just crying. Trying not to cry, but it's kind of hard. Essentially, I have spent the last year trying to figure out what I want to do with my life. And a lot of perspective has been had, and concepts and ideas have been thrown around, and things that I've been focused on have been in flux, changed a lot. So I wanted to come on here and do this AMA because I feel like it's necessary, because I was doing good. The podcast is doing great. We were getting lots of views. I was getting tons of new follows. Like, content was like really picking up speed, and then boom, gone. So I wanted to explain myself a little bit because I owe it to you guys for being here, supporting me in this crazy project, and supporting me in all of my crazy projects. Basically, moving forward, I am going to cut the podcast down to once a month. However, that does not mean I'm not going to be releasing new content consistently. I just had to kind of put my podcast a little on the back burner, but I want to bring it back, mostly because I kept having guests who wanted to be on the show and then they'd cancel on me last minute, which is incredibly frustrating. But you know, the show must go on. I have some new guests lined up who I was in communication before my dad passed, and now we're trying to pick up where we left off. I'm going to see if some of them still want to come back. Some of them do not. If you want to be on the show and you are an interesting person trying to do some interesting things, on the coffinlounge.com website, you can apply to be on the show. I'm always looking for new guests, so I would love to talk to you. My goal is to start doing these at least a month in advance, giving myself a couple weeks space to edit and put them up. And I want to have them out, based on my calendar, I think I want to have them out the first week of every month. That is number one project that I'm currently working on, trying to get the podcast back. I know a lot of you were really excited and really bummed out when I took a little bit of a break, but I felt it was really necessary to kind of realign my goals and figure out where I wanted to go with like all of this. And now I have some direction. This last month I've spent redoing my entire schedule. I'm going to start streaming on Wednesdays. The Wednesdays that I have to work, I'm going to stream on Thursdays. And I have a special Monday night stream once a month that is called Movie Morgue. It coexists with our Discord movie watching nights called Movie Morgue, but we call it Movie Morgue Live. So here's a little clip from that so you can kind of see what that project is. Actually, we just started that recently. Here you go. Wait, she's supposed to be the invisible ghost?
So, she's supposed to be dead, I think. But I think they think she's dead. Nobody knows that she's alive except that one person.
Just seems...
So, I think Bela Lugosi sees her and then starts spiraling because he thinks she's a ghost. It's just a really shitty excuse for, insanity, because he could just go down and be like, oh, you're not actually a ghost. My wife is alive and not crashing cars.
Hey, Atlanta. Say hello to Small Business Help from Apple. That's right. We're here to make starting and running your business simpler. From helping you choose the right devices to setting them up hassle-free, we can help you build your business in no time. Speak to a business expert and get the help you need at no cost whatsoever. At Apple, we're open for your small business. Go to apple.com/smallbusiness or visit an Apple store to learn more.
It's just like, was this like Dracula. When did Dracula come out versus? Actually,
I think that was in the 60s, which is crazy because I grew up watching a lot of Bela Lugosi films because of my mom.
1931
I have never
was
seen
Dracula.
this. Okay.
So this was post Dracula. So I was like, this feels like a Dracula moment. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
If you notice, like, a lot of the Lugosi movies that he was in, like, you can tell that they really tried to play on the fact that, like, we have Dracula in our film.
Yeah.
You'd kill anybody.
The budget for Covenant of Dr. Caligari was $12,000, which is actually kind of a lot for back in the day.
You could afford 3 well-off houses with that.
The box office made $4,713. The twist ending is just the ending of the story, according to Wikipedia.
Okay. That makes sense.
It says, in a twist ending, France is depicted as an asylum inmate. Jane and Cesar were patients as well. Jane believes she's a queen, while Cesar is not a somnambulist, but awake, quiet, and not visibly dangerous. It's a delusion.
Woo! We love a Delulu queen.
Which is probably why it looked the way it did, because it was all in his head. Roger Ebert called it arguably the first true horror film. The actor that played Cesar fled Germany in the 30s. Good.
Yeah, a lot of it stemmed from particularly artists being persecuted by the Nazi regime of the time. Anyone who was deemed a deviant in terms of art was often subject to fines, imprisonment, and horrifying implications therein.
So that is Movie Morgue Live. Essentially, it's kind of like Mystery Science Theater. It's something that we started watching a lot of movies over the summer. Me and Mickle Mackle and 7 Minutes and Devin. So I was like, why don't we record this? It's hilarious. Like, we're hilarious. And we talk so much about film that we essentially were like, hey, this is informative. We're talking about things that we really enjoy. We really like doing this. Let's do it once a month. And it goes along with my Discord channel, movie nights on Monday. We have movie nights every Monday. So the live will be once a month. You're going to get the Coffin Lounge podcast once a month. You're going to get my streams 3 to 4 times a month on Twitch. I would like to do more than that, but depending on how that goes, I can do more or less, depending on, truth be told, how much income is being generated, because it's work. It's a job. It's a lot of time and hours spent streaming. And then you're also going to get the Features of the Night podcast, which is a companion to Movie Morgue, and basically we're gonna do a podcast where it's me, 7 Minutes of Devin, and Mickle Mackle. We're all gonna get together and we're gonna discuss modern horror movies. So it's called Feature of the Night. The first episode should be out by the time this episode airs, and I will link it in the description below. The first subject of the first Features of the Night is gross out horror. Like, we're going to talk about The Greasy Strangler. We're going to talk about Rabid Grannies. We're going to talk about street trash. So if you like horror, here is a clip from Features of the Night, and you can subscribe to that currently on Spotify, and it will be available on my VampireKitten channel on YouTube, which I will link in the description below for that. So enjoy this moment of podcast. I think gross out horror, it has to do with a lot of the crossover. I think if there was like a Venn diagram, it would be poop, like toilet humor, some fetishes, and like
body melting,
body horror. But it has to be, it's very specific body horror.
Yeah.
Well, that's the thing too. Like, none of these categories are mutually exclusive, and I think that's the cool thing about gross out horror, because like we picked Saw as our example first, and then moved to Street Trash, which are such radically different movies. There isn't denying that gore is often disgusting. But it's disgusting for a different reason than, say, the guy who's melting and becoming a rainbow blob in his own filth and excrement.
Like, I think the stuff could also be categorized as...
Oh, absolutely.
Definitely. I only reference Saw because I feel like that's the movie that everyone has seen, or like everyone knows.
No.
Series.
I'm not invalidating anything you're saying. I'm just pointing out that, like, you have this category that's so wide sweeping that you can watch Saw one day and watch The Greasy Strangler the next and be like, how are these two movies connected?
I feel like Saw is a lot of different movies. Like, it's a lot of different categories. Because it's not just, I think it's gross out, but it's also gore. Because the needles, and then they have, like, a lot of blood and crunching.
It's thriller, it's horror.
It's thriller, it's horror.
Because like the crime aspect of it. Like, there's the detectives who are constantly chasing Jigsaw and trying to find, like, who he is, why he's doing this.
Yeah. So I think that Saw is a really good, just a good example of horror overall. Like, if you were to be like, yeah, a horror movie that everyone should know is Saw. Like, just because it touches on everything, and I think that's really cool.
And taking this a step further, for gross out horror, those who know, and those who don't, think of the grossest thing, something that makes you cringe, something that makes you have a gut response that is, I want to throw up now, or I feel queasy, or I'm going to pass out, because it's so disgusting. That is basically what gross out horror aims to invoke within each of us. And, something that might be gross to you might not be gross to somebody else. I personally don't like the texture of Jell-O. Other people love it. But with gross out horror, there is undeniably this goal to basically make people
disgusted.
Yes.
Yeah.
I need to take a shower after watching this movie.
That's how I felt watching The Greasy Strangler, to be honest.
Do you want to jump into The Greasy Strangler?
I feel like we should. Well, so before we go into that, I did a little bit of research, and I can't find, like, the earliest example of gross out horror. The only thing I can really, that's, like, noteworthy is anything that John Waters has made, or Todd Browning. Those were, like, the earliest that were, like, even considered gross out horror. While they're just camp now, really, if you think about it. That's just the earliest, like, the categorization of this.
Well, I'll keep this brief because I know that you and I were talking before we started recording. I have a background in literature, and one of the topics that I cover quite a lot in world literature is the grotesque. There's, like, ancient precedent for this, and I'm not going to go down that rabbit hole because we do want to talk about, like, Mary Shelley's Frankenstein in a podcast in, like, renditions and stuff. But it is worth noting, like, the concept of grossing out is not limited to film and has a long-standing tradition, but it's very hard to pin down, like, where does any of this start? Where does film specifically start with the gross out? And I think that John Waters seems to be an example par excellence, especially you cited already, Divine, picking up and quite literally eating dog feces. One of the most iconic scenes in Gross Out. I remember reading something. It was Divine, I guess Divine's mother, out of drag obviously, asked, did you actually eat dog feces? And they said, I didn't have the heart to tell her. Which I think is fantastic. Also, like, the very act is nauseating. I don't want to vilify Divine, obviously, for doing it, because we'll say it's a choice. It's a bold choice.
Committed choice.
But undeniably an iconic one. Like, I'm going to just go out there and say, like, it's not a choice I would ever make.
So that was Features of the Night, which you can currently subscribe to on Spotify. If you're listening to this, it should already be out. Features of the Night will come out on the 1st of the month. And the Coffin Lounge, I'm hoping to release on the first Monday of every month. So hopefully you get a little idea of a schedule. I'm hoping to have a full schedule posted on my website at some point. I am still currently kind of getting that together, but I think it'll be out soon, I want to say, ? So what have I been up to? I'm so glad you asked. The past year, I've been painting a lot. I have been making a ton of art. which you actually, if you want to see my art, some of it is available on omniferal.com, which is my store. It is, I have paintings up there. I have mixed media art. I have all sorts of stuff. I'm doing a lot of art, and I've really gotten into painting. I like to think I'm pretty good at it. I feel like I'm getting so much better, though. Like in the past year, I've been doing that. I've been really working on trying to bring my stream back. I've been consistently playing with that and kind of here and there doing some stream stuff. Not a lot. I should do more. But now that we're going into this new year, I'm going to be streaming pretty consistently every Wednesday night, except for when I have work. So once a month, I'm going to stream on Thursdays instead of Wednesdays. So that'll be fun. And I'm trying to mix up the games a little bit more. I don't want to keep doing roleplay because I've actually been recording all of those sessions and uploading them to my VampireKitten TV YouTube. So if you want to see some of my content, it's always on my VampireKitten TV. I'm uploading pretty consistently over there now, and I've got at least 1 or 2 videos every week. So, and that's stuff that I've not streamed. It's like pre-recorded, and I edit it, and then it's fun and silly and whimsical, and it's just random. It's stupid. It's really stupid. But if you like stupid gaming videos, there you go. A lot of what I've been doing is building my store, and I have also been running events. I've been running creative events where people come to hang out. They buy tickets. I give them some art pieces, stuff to work on, and then they do that. And it's been doing really well. I feel like within the next year, my ultimate goal for the future would be, once hopefully the economy gets better, I will consider leasing a studio space. I would like to do that. That's only if it's reasonable to do so. And I say all of that with so much self-doubt because I don't know where the future is headed for me. I don't know what the future holds, but it would be really nice if I had infinite amounts of money. Let's talk about this. If I had a gross amount of money, I would open my own art studio with retail store and event space that people could utilize and do their own workshops. So like pagan workshops or witchy workshops or craft workshops. I don't give a shit. It would be a workshop space. It would be an art studio space for me. And it would be a retail space. And this is if money were no object, okay? But my real if money were no object, I guess dream is if money were no object, my dream would be to open a vampire bar. I think that would be rad. I think it would be a great tourist attraction, so I could bring in like normies. I think it could be a coffee shop during the afternoon, and I could bring in the normies then. I want it to be spooky and dark and gothic and like sexy. You know what I mean? Like full-time vampire bar / nightclub / coffee shop. That's if money were on no option. Dream. That's the dream. But until I win the lottery, which I probably won't because I don't play enough. That is a pipe dream. So in the meantime, I am going to set my goals towards my art studio space. Hopefully that will happen. If it doesn't happen, that's okay too. I would really like to continue doing art. No matter what, I'm going to continue doing the podcast and I'm going to continue doing art. I have also been branching out in monetization of other things. I've been making streamer graphics. I have been doing small projects here and there, working on people's Discords, blah, 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 blah. If you have any recommendations or suggestions for that, I can do that too. Like I want to release a whole series of gamer streaming, like spooky dark streamer graphics. So I started working on that. I started modeling a little bit more. That can all be seen on VampireKitten.net if you're interested. So that's kind of what I've been up to. I've been really focused on myself, really sad, and really into art. So I'm happy to be coming back to the podcast. It's going to help me. I don't know. I feel like I was growing so much as a human. Actually, I should say I was growing so much as a vampire. I was growing so much as a person. That's better. I was growing so much as a person when I was doing my podcast the first time around. I felt like I was really getting it, you know? Also, I got a new computer, and it's going to be way easier to stream and edit and blah, 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 because my old computer, she was an old mare, and she was ready to be taken out to pasture, that's for sure. Poor thing. I was getting severe, like, blue screens of death, and it was bad. Like, I was just overloading my PC, just editing videos. So that was bad. So I'm still kind of working out, like, the kinks of lighting and what I want to do with that, because now everything's rearranged. You can kind of see my PC, it's tall now. It's a tall boy. For those who are listening in and not watching this, I'm tapping my PC and calling it a tall boy. And the reason why I'm doing that is because it comes up to my waist in height. To give you some perspective, I am 5'3". This computer comes up to my waist. It is a tall boy. So it is a hand-me-down from Malicious Sniper. I don't know if you are following him or have seen him in my channels or my YouTube, whatever. He's extremely supportive, and he gave me his old computer. So, very pleased, very happy with that. Anyway, if there are some things that you'd like to see on the show, if there are guests that you'd like to see on the show, please direct them to me. Send my podcast to your friends. If you like what I do, I really appreciate you guys. I know that this is going to be a shorter video, because normally we try to hit about an hour. This is going to be maybe 20-30 minutes. The next month, the podcast will be out early March. I will have a guest. We will have a very long podcast, and it will be very good. So if you ever have any questions, concerns, comments, whatever, just let me know. Unfortunately, the Coffin Lounge Podcast is moving to once a month, but that's going to give me a lot more time to sort of develop it and get better guests and make sure that everybody's, like, ready to go. The burnout that I was struggling with the initial Coffin Lounge Podcast wasn't just burnout because of editing and recording and all that stuff. It was burnout because I kept getting guests who I asked to be on the show or who wanted to be on the show, and then they'd either ghost me or they'd cancel on me last minute, and that really sucks. Like, that super duper sucks, because if I have one or two guests cancel on me and I shoot every week and I don't have a backup guest, then it's like, well, what do I do? Which is why the podcast kept getting pushed out. It's because I had a schedule and no one else seemed to be on that schedule. So yeah, it was hard. It was hard to do these week by week, and I think that was, like, a lot of the cause of my burnout. So I'm hoping that by doing it once a month, I will give myself a lot more buffer to edit, get things done, be less stressed, really enjoy what I do here. Going back to what I was saying earlier about how I took a break because of my dad. My dad was incredibly proud of everything that I do. My dad was incredibly proud of my art. He was incredibly proud of my modeling. He was proud of my monsters stuff. He loved the contacts and the fangs, and he really used to tell me all the time, he's like, why don't you fly with your fangs and your contacts? I was like, I don't need any more people messing with me at the airport, for one. He was just incredibly proud of me, and he was incredibly proud of my brothers. And at the end of the day, I can't be sad anymore. I have to move on. And I have to continue to make my dad proud of the things that I was doing. He really liked this podcast. He thought it was fascinating. And I'm really glad I got to be my best self for him and show him that what I'm doing is something I love doing, and what I'm doing is weird and unusual, and he was just totally accepting of all that. I really am thankful that he gave me that, I guess, positivity towards my work, that it made me want to go and keep creating and making weird things all the time. Growing up, my dad was he introduced me to monster movies. He introduced me to vampire movies. He introduced me to like Tim Burton and like heavy metal, and you know, like it's hard knowing that we won't ever be able to share new media with each other, I guess. Like, I won't be able to show him the movies that I've seen or talk to him about series that he would have absolutely loved, because we were very much talking back and forth all the time about film and television. And I want to thank my dad, because a lot of what I do today here, be it this podcast, be it my photo shoots, my monster makeup, my dad had a big part in giving a lot of that to me. And I'm really thankful, because that's how I've made my career. That's how I've create my content, you know? So at the end of the day, I wouldn't be VampireKitten if it weren't for my dad. And I think that's incredibly special. And there's some sort of legacy here that I'm very thankful for because of my dad. So, I know I keep talking about him. I came on here to kind of basically just talk about that. I didn't have any AMA questions this time around, but I wanted to give you all an update. This may not be an incredibly long podcast, but I did want to tell you I am coming back. I've missed you. I've missed me. And I want to create some of the most... I want to go... How do I word this? I want to create more. I want to create better content. I want to entertain. I want to share interesting people and their interesting lives. I want to talk about the things I'm passionate about. And I want to do it for my dad and for me. Before I go, I wanted to say thank you again for all of the support you have all shown me for the podcast in the last year. I know I haven't been around, and I am making a greater effort to be a little bit more social this year. So if you stop by my Twitch, come say hi to me. It's twitch.tv/VampireKitten. I'm going to be streaming every week. So if you're interested in coming and hanging out, watching some gaming videos, talking about movies, I'm around. I know the podcast is only going to once a month, which I know is kind of a bummer, but hey, it's coming back. As the podcast grows more and things grow more, I will be able to dedicate more time to them. If you want to support the Coffin Lounge podcast, I have a tier on my Patreon that you get bonus content on. It's only $3 a month. and it's just for the Coffin Lounge, nobody else. So if you want additional content, $3 a month gets you a bunch of additional video. With monetization comes more time. So I'm really hoping that within the next year we can get this podcast fully monetized and I can do it twice a month. That would be great. That being said, I really, really hope you subscribe to Features of the Night if you like horror movies. I hope you come watch Movie Morgue, presented by Features of the Night, which is on my VampireKitten TV YouTube page. I also have a ton of content on my VampireKitten YouTube page. I know I don't really talk much about where I am elsewhere, but I'm around, I'm here, I'm alive, and I'm trying to thrive, okay? I'm doing the best I can, given the circumstances, all right? It's hard. I'm truly thankful to be coming back into 2025 strong. At least I think this is pretty strong. I missed you all, and I'm glad to be focused on starting my projects back up because they make me happy. They generally make me happy. I'm also going to be doing all that other crap where I'm like trying to eat better, trying to exercise more. You know how that goes. It's hard. But to whatever your resolutions are this year, I hope you accomplish all of your goals. I hope you accomplish all of your dreams. I hope you have abundance coming your way. And I hope that 2025 is amazing for you because you all absolutely deserve positivity, happiness, and wealth in the coming years. And I'm really hoping that happens in 2025 for a lot of people. So, that being said, thank you all for watching the Coffin Lounge podcast. Sorry this is such a short episode. Sorry I cried a lot. But I feel like there's something to be said for content creators that kind of pour their heart out. It makes them real, I always appreciated that. I hope you do too. Sorry I cried all over you though. Thank you for the tissues. Anyway, I am your host, VampireKitten. I will see you on the next episode of the Coffin Lounge podcast. And I appreciate everything, every watch, every listen, every like. You can follow me on @VampireKitten on almost every platform. And make sure you're following @Coffin Lounge on almost every platform because it helps people find me.